So we're going to start this off by saying that this is another episode of the Reach Report, man. This thing has been so exciting, man. I'm so excited about everything that is produced, everything that it nurtured, everything that it birthed. It's all been so good, man. So good. The quality of the content, the quality of the guests, it's been all so good. So I want to start off by saying this, that I'm really just excited today. I'm really excited in the month of, we're in September. And I want to say that, man, I've been going through a transition, bro. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to tell my audience, I've been going through a transition. And it's been a health kick transition, you know? A lot of people that know me, know of me, know that, you know, the football life, football family life, and all those things play into the type of person I am, the character that I've been. And I had to retransition, Nick, man. I had to retransition, bro. And I went and seen the doctor, and the doctor told me some things, and I was like, no. I'm like the light switch, bro, when it comes to discipline. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I love my pecan pie and all this and that, but I am not going to let pecan pie disturb my peace, which is my health and everything else. So I've been going nuts, bananas at the gym, and I love it. It makes me feel so good. I don't have to worry about, you know, am I going to get up? Am I going to have the same motivation that I had today that got me up at 4:45 to hit the gym? I'm just going to hit the gym, bro. I'm just going to hit the gym.
Yeah.
So I want to let all my audience know that I might look a little different, but guess what? It's a blessing that I look a little different.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I was up here like, yeah, Reach Report, yes, sir. But man, God has been good, man.
Always.
And I cannot complain, man. I'm just going forward. It's been a huge benefit, and I'm ready for all the challenges. You know, the business, Appet Art has been growing. My son is not with us today, but he is with us. And all the things that we've been able to compile in the last couple months, the last year, has been all great, and it's been all a blessing. So without further ado, I want to be able to introduce this young man, have him introduce himself to the Reach Report audience and be able to, you know, just give us a little bit. I'm going to be asking some questions. He's going to be asking me some questions. But I want to start off by saying, man, who is Nick? You know, who is Nick? You got to give him your whole name. You ain't got to give him your middle initials and suffix like they said, but who is Nick, man?
Man, so my name is actually Nick King. Most people don't say the first without the last. Usually they address me, they just be like, yo, what's up, Nick King? You know, so it's just like, it's just so simple. It ties together. So, you know, just a little bit about me. I'm a 22-year-old designer. You know, I recently graduated from Purdue University Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. You know, I mostly work in the foundations of UI, UX. You know, I've done different things throughout my journey. I've done a little bit of graphic design. I'm an artist, you know, a little bit of an illustrator, researcher. You know, I've gotten into foundations of marketing, finance, you know, the whole top to bottom, you know, the entire package. So, you know, in my journey, you know, the way I understand it is, you know, we are just constantly learning, constantly building on new skills and new things, you know, just kind of trying to search for what's next for me. You know, as I said, you know, I graduated back in May. So, you know, I think, you know, this journey right now is, you know, trying to find what's the next phase for me. And, you know, I think that's really important. The way I see it is, you know, God is always in control, you know, so I just kind of continue to stay by him and, you know, just let him kind of take the wheel. So
that's what's up. And I'm going to tell you this. God sent them to me.
Yeah, literally.
I'm going to tell you because I'm looked at as one of one. I'm just going to be honest. I'm looked at as one of one. I've been doing this thing for quite some time. You know, I claim it. You know, I understood it. And God has blessed me in a way to where I'm an expert in my field. So it has been difficult through my journey to find someone like me. And this gentleman right here is probably the closest that I've come across to to be able to say that some of the understanding, some of the teachings that he was able to experience was similar to mine. So we're going to have a great conversation today. I promise you the conversation today is going to be great. We might have to break down 5 episodes just to get it all out. We're going to come back in different wardrobes and all kind of stuff.
Literally.
We're going to be talking in different areas, different cities to be able to bring you what we have in our minds. You know what I mean? I have so much in mind that if I could draw it out of him, we're talking about episodes and episodes of UX for all the people out there who don't understand. I'm going to have him explain it to you, right? So you said something just a few seconds ago that I love, man, is that you're an artist too.
Yeah, and that's the first thing actually. Before design, before UI UX, before college, whatever, I was an artist. I started drawing when I was only 5 years old. 5 years old, different things kind of came along. I was doing a little bit of animated drawings, color drawings with a color pencil or something like that. It wasn't really till high school that I actually started doing so realistic stuff. And I guess that's kind of around the time that I started to learn about graphic design as well. It kind of all seamlessly tied in because it was like I did my first portrait around that time, when I was only about 14 years old. At the same time, I accidentally discovered graphic design. Now that's a whole story to itself, just how I, went about that. But, art is always, a big thing for me. And I think it was always where I started. I keep it, at the top because, it's always something that I can do. I was more so the realistic artist. When it comes to technical things like UI, UX, graphic design, you have little things where you could tie art into because art is everywhere. You're not going to. Literally right outside is nothing but art. So literally it's always going to be there, and I think that's very important for me to remember, even though I continue to expand my skills.
Yeah. And for me, it's important because I felt like that at the level that I got into UX, it was like stripping away art. It felt like that to me because I was a graphic designer. So it felt like that UX was stripping away art. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, you can strip away art, but the emotion that you get out of it has to come back to it. So that's why I named the company, Appit Art. And people ask me, like, what is Appit Art? Is APP capital IT Art. And that stands for Application Internet Technology with artistic values. We got to keep the artistic values into design. We want to keep artistic values into design. Yes, I need to understand it. Yes, it's got to be simply, designed to where it doesn't affect my mood. It doesn't affect, interactions that's a reverse of what people want when it comes to, branding and awareness. We want to draw people in and not push them away with design. So I do understand that, but artistic values mean so much. So for you to tell me that, dude, you just you messing with my heartstrings, bro, because I felt like when I had to peel away the art, that everything that I've done that I thought was creative, I had to strip away. Then I had to come back to it and start adding artistic values back into it. So I got a couple questions for you right out the gate, right?
Yep.
So for me, like, I'm going to have 2 questions, right? The first one was like, when did you know, at what age, like, I always can remember exactly what I was doing where I was like, this is what I want to do. At what age, at what time did you feel like, hey, not only do I like it, but I feel like this is what I can do in life as a career? When did that time happen for you?
So it actually, ironic enough, it came and went, several different times. When I was that 14-year-old discovering, how to design, I didn't think much of it because of how I actually learned about design. I found out on accident about graphic design. So when I was running my little freelance business from when I was 14 to when I was 17, I was still kind of, thinking on the side, maybe this isn't what I'm going to do long term, but maybe this is something I'm going to just do for the time being. Because I was also doing other things, like I was playing the piano, like most people don't know about that. But like that was something that was also on my mind. Was I going to be a musician or something? Was I going to try something like that? Or was I going to stick to art? Or was I going to go into design? So I think right around the time when I was about 17, usually, I think that's when everything started to narrow down for me because I stopped playing music. And then, you know, I started to expand my skills into design further. And at that point, you know, I kind of knew, you know, when a decision had to be made, you know, with all the creativity in the world that I have in my head, you know, I knew that this is where God wanted me to be. So, you know, I kind of moved forward with that, and, you know, I continue to trust the process with that.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So I can tell you that I prayed for this. I prayed, and I think some of our audience heard me say it before, but I literally prayed. I was like deep into restaurants, running restaurants, building restaurants, and I was thinking like, you know, it was super labor intensive. And I didn't mind the work, though. I'm not the type of person where, oh, my goodness, I just can't stand labor or whatever. I'm fine because I always thought about it like, hey, if I'm doing some labor intensive, it just gets me closer to getting off.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I just, as a young person, I wanted to do something that I can kind of get involved in and be able to, you know, get it done and move throughout my day and grow within it. And as I did it over time, you know, then I started saying, you know what? I really wanted to move into technology, and that's when I started a cell phone shop that I did back when, a little bit after my son was born. So I started a cell phone shop, and I really got engulfed in technology. And I started working with some individuals that were very experienced in graphic design, web design, and different things of that nature. And I started to launch a company that's not Apidart, but it was another company at the time. And while I was doing it, I was immediately like just super passionate about it. And I felt that when the passion, when I felt the emotion of the passion, then I knew this is what I wanted to do. You know, and God preserved me for the time now. Like literally, when I say preserved me, I went through all kind of different careers at the time, and always in the back of my mind, I wanted to know more. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to buy PCs. I wanted to get more involved and more involved and more involved into graphic design, the elements of software, and everything else, all at the same time. And my passion just grew from there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that something that, like, who bought you your first computer? How did that go with you?
So, initially, I had a $200 laptop. That's where I started designing on. And it wasn't even bought for that reason because, like I said, you know, I accidentally found out about graphic design. It was bought to play games, literally. And that's what I was actually doing. You know, there's a whole story about it. You know, I was literally watching one of my favorite YouTubers. You know, he's playing games. He went into Photoshop, you know, switched out some assets, made a little thumbnail for one of his videos. I'm like, what is that? I want to do it. So, literally, that was my first computer. It was by my parents, you know, and it took all the way up until I was about 17 to get a new one. When I got a new one, I still own that $200 laptop to this day. Like, I don't use it anymore, but I still own it. And it's like, it's crazy because of how much work, how many years of work is still on that computer. And it's like, I sit there and look at it like, wow, I was really just doing these designs off of this $200 laptop that barely functions sometimes. And I'm like, you know, it's crazy of how much I was able to accomplish just through that, you know, even though I have the better laptop now, even though I have a big PC now, you know, it's like you still think back to, you know, where you started. So I think that's definitely important for me, you know, just not to forget that.
Yeah, man, I'm the same way. I've gotten to the point where I really want to have the best equipment that I possibly can have, and I really want to advance my tools, let's say that, to be able to perform all the tasks that I need to perform without having, you know, a lot of setbacks, you know, trials and tribulations with just technology and different things of that nature. I can remember back in the day that originally using Photoshop and how it would slow your computer down.
All the way.
Yeah.
All the way.
It has changed a lot since then, but Photoshop was a beast, man, and your processor had to be true to its calling because the fact that it's a big, you know, it's a big software, and the way it produces images and everything else, and how the tools work in real time, it really will bog down a slow computer, so it gives you an understanding of what you need to be able to move through that and have that tool be able to perform the way you need it to, So again, man, these things that we're talking about, man, I could just remember those times, like you said, you could remember back and you look at this computer like, I can't believe that I was using this, but I did. I made it work for what I needed.
I literally, I think at one point the screen was half detached or something, and I was still designing on it because I couldn't afford nothing. Like, mind you, I got this computer when I was, 13? And up until I was 16, I didn't have another job, so I couldn't afford another computer. So I was screen halfway hanging off. I'm over here, just trying to figure out how to design on
propping it up.
Literally propping it up onto something, leaning it on something just so I can get some work done. Because every day I was designing on it. Like, literally, I would get home from school and do my homework. But then, I would go through on Photoshop and try and design something new every single day. And I honestly think it took out my laptop because I don't think that thing really works anymore. It's pretty slow. So,
yeah.
But I think that's literally because I have folders and folders full of designs that I did over the years. So, I mean, I'm appreciative of it.
Yeah.
At least now that I don't have to use it now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the big thing for me.
Yeah, so we're going to jump into the UX. We're going to jump dead into the UX landscape, okay? So for me, the term came from God, bro. I didn't know a thing about UX until it kind of came to me. And I had a buddy of mine that he wasn't a designer, but he was into software security, right? Passed away, God rest his soul. And we had a discussion about, really building something, really getting into this full-fledged. And I can't say that I exactly remember how, but I know that it wasn't a situation where I was talking to someone and they said it, or I was watching TV and they said it. It literally was like an embedded message that God put in me, and then I went research crazy. So I was like, how could I learn to become a UXer? How could I get, knowledge? So I was looking for schools to go to. I was looking for classes to take. I was looking for books to read. I was looking. And every time I got a little more information, I was super intrigued. I was like, this is it for me. And one thing that really intrigued me was I started looking at how it was in such a demand at the same time that it jumped in my spirit. So I was like, wait a minute, you're telling me that they're paying these salaries for these individuals right now, and there's not enough people to fulfill these jobs? So that's how it came to me. I really want to know. I need the backstory, Nick. I need the backstory. Like, did somebody come to you and just was like, "Hey, UX," or how did it come to you? Like, I want to say the surface conversation and the thought. I need both of them.
So it's crazy because my first year of college, we were more so focused on graphic design.
Okay.
But the same professor who was kind of walking us through that, he did tell us initially that we were going to be getting into UI UX. And I kept that on the low at the time because I didn't know what he was talking about. But at that time I was automatically already saying, I want to do UI UX as my career. Now I did that without not knowing. Now, sophomore, junior year, senior year of college comes, and then we really start stepping into those catered courses to be able to tailor those skills over to UI, UX. So we had separate courses for UI, separate courses for UX. Now, he was teaching us all the concepts. He wasn't, this professor, I really thank him because he wasn't, holding anything back when it came to teaching us the different concepts and things to do. So when it came to UX, he was teaching us, different things like the research portion, the different phases and steps of how you kind of go through that process. And he was, he was kind of taking it slow. He had us working together a lot, but he also did make sure, to put a lot on us, to hold us accountable, to be able to show our understanding. And I think, for me, at that time, it wasn't too difficult only because, I feel like I was like a sponge. Like I was soaking in everything. You know, I was learning new things about graphic design. I was learning new things about UI, UX. So I was able to, you know, really kind of carry it forward and show him, you know, that I was understanding a lot of what he was teaching. So when it came to UI, UX, you know, it was like something I was experimenting a lot with through just different projects and stuff. And I think my skills just kind of grew over the years. So I think that's, you know, kind of the contrast from you, I guess, to say, you know, it was more so of a structured environment for me. Like it was meant to happen. Like the professor, he told us initially, like, this is what we're going to be learning about because this is a part of the major. So I think, you know, it was something more or less I feel like I don't want to say had to learn, but more so I had to learn. And, you know, I picked up on it pretty well because I already had a lot of those skills kind of just waiting aside, ready to use. So,
So for our audience, I'm going to need you to break it down for them. What's the difference between UI and UX?
So UI is user interface design. It is more or less, it's kind of like graphic design's best friend, if you will. You know, in any mobile application, web application, or if you will, anything other platform, you know, UI is more so the graphics, the colors, you know, things like that, you know. And it's still a very technical thing, like outside of graphic design, like UI is a very technical aspect. You're not just going over into the colors and things like that. You're also going across, you know, how does the users, you know, interact with that, you know, how do they see different graphics, you know, how do they see these colors, you know, what are their reactions to that? Now, on the other end, UX is more so like a skeleton, like it's like the structure and layout, you know, it's the flow, you know, is how, like, what does this button do when I click on it? What kind, like, does it change colors, you know, does it, like, you know, it's very technical. It's very hard to break it down just in a few sentences because literally you can write an entire dictionary on UX and just the foundations and what it entails. And it's like, it did take quite a bit of time to learn about it, but when you kind of break it all down and simplify it, you know, it really is just structure and layout versus like the colors and graphics or something like that. So, you know, I think that's really some of the big differences initially I can see, but it is more of a science of, you know, how you get there.
Yeah, and see, for me, the way I was taught, it was the psychology of design. And I was like pushed out of a window, like, what? Yes, the psychology of design. So I was like, you know, our teachers was talking about how a door is made. How the UX in the door, push, pull, turn.
Yup.
Oh my goodness. And we were looking at doors that he said, what he used to say, something like, if the door has to have a message, it's not UX. If it says push, it was not built with UX. If it says pull, it was not built with proper UX, let's say that. Think about that. If a door is made a certain way, it's no way to be confused about to push or pull it. If it's a hook handle, that means you pull it. If it's flat, that means it needs to be pushed, right? And we don't think about those things, but guess what? Someone had to.
Someone had to.
Designed it, someone had to. And he used to talk about how a car is made, whether, you know, the shifter is here or shifted on the steering wheel, or where the radio is placed, the air conditioning controls is placed. All that had to be thought through. And it's grand UX within the way that a car is designed. You know?
And it really is a science. Like man, just to break it down into words, like it's a science because, you know, us UX designers, you know, I feel like we understand the concepts, you know, a lot of it is just kind of, you know, bells and whistles for us. But, you know, I feel like, you know, we as UX designers, our understanding is we kind of move forward to understand the structures and the realities of what can be made, like, and how we can switch those things around. Like UX, you're just kind of playing with a puzzle with UX. You're just understanding how to build things, structures, and like the flow of different things, and, you know, how users interact with that. So it's very hard to break it down, but it is more or less, it is really a science.